and welcome to Good Game, the show for gamers by gamers. I'm Barjo.
And I'm Junglist. It's birthday time for one of the most influential consoles ever made.
That's right, the Game Boy turns 20 this week, and we celebrate in backwards compatible.
The stylish anime Afro Samurai has made the move from show to movie and now video game.
An expert swordsman without an elaborate hairstyle also feature in Dishwasher Dead Samurai, a one-man developed slash 'em up.
FIFA is undoubtedly one of the most successful game franchises. Now there's a new game mode out. It's called Ultimate Team. Big name, but can the game live up to it?
Plus, we resume our look at how to get a job in the games industry with the role of the designer.
No, that's designer.
Designer?
Designer.
But first, can you guess the game for this week?
Answer at the end of the show. Bounce over to the news.
Good game.
Legendary game designer Will Wright has this week announced his retirement from his position at game publisher Electronic Arts and from the game studio he co-founded, Maxis Software. Will Wright, who is the creator of some of the best-selling games of all time, including SimCity, The Sims, and Spore, announced that he was leaving EA to work on a new startup company named Stupid Fun Club, an entertainment think tank that aims to develop new ideas for video games, online environments, and toys. Will Wright's resignation brings his 22-year career with Maxis to a close and looks to have ended his involvement in all of his running game series. News has surfaced that the PC version of last year's downloadable hit Braid will feature a fully functioning level editor hidden somewhere in the game. The game's creator, Jonathan Blow, has confirmed that the PC version of the game features the editor, which will be powerful enough for users to create an entirely new game, complete with all the time-manipulating puzzling of the original Braid. New research by the Nielsen Company has shed some light on which game consoles are being played to death and which ones are collecting dust. The research firm surveyed more than 17,000 American households at the end of last year and found that of the current crop of consoles, the Xbox 360 was used the most, with an average of over 7 playdays per month. It also had the highest time spent gaming, with an average of 78 minutes per gaming session. The PS3 came second, with just under 7 playdays every month and 68 minutes per session. The Wii scored the lowest of the next-gen consoles, with an average of 5 playdays per month and 58 minutes of game time per session, a score that put it behind the almost decade-old PlayStation 2 and original Xbox in terms of time spent gaming. The Wii's low playtime may be due to the different demographics using each console, and it certainly hasn't hurt sales, with almost 20 million more Wiis sold than its nearest competition.
Good game.
The stories that surround the two sacred headbands are as many as the men who have died in their pursuit. Some say they bestow supernatural powers upon whoever possesses them. Others believe that they were created by the gods, and that mankind dances at their end like a fish snagged on a line.
Afro Samurai is a recent anime series that blends katanas, hip-hop, and sci-fi to tell the story of a stylish samurai with a fearsome fro. With all the original voices, including Samuel L. Jackson, and featuring music by the RZA, the tale is now being told as a video game.
Afro's father once held the mystical #1 headband. Challenged to a duel by Justice, he was beheaded right in front of Afro, who later seeks vengeance. To do this though, he first must defeat his old sword master, who, after dying, gets reincarnated as Kratos.
You think you can just take it? The headband must be earned!
Once you don the #2 headband, it's open season on you. There is no #3. Until you can find and challenge the #1, every glory-seeking wannabe is gonna try his luck. This creates a setting for some pretty cool characters, and you get to fight pretty much every boss from the anime, including a really cool mid-air boss fight, and every schizophrenic samurai's worst nightmare, a philosophical teddy bear.
You've got some Prince of Persia-like aerobatics, but most of the game is combat. There are standard button-mashy combos of heavy and light attacks, blocks and kicks, and all of these build up focus which you can spend on big slices. Build up enough focus, and you can let them all rip in a few seconds, leaving a room looking like this.
Enemies nearly departed, and we nearly cold-hearted, but down for the fam. Mad rivers of blood that started pouring on land.
You're meant to build up your focus on the less important enemies to use your samurai slice on the big guys, but this system means that before you even get to a mini-boss, you have to fight through waves of minions, and minions. It's like one of those old kung fu movies, they just keep on coming, and that's the majority of the game. Later on, the combinations between fast and slow enemies can get pretty challenging, but the key to most situations is the parry. A well-timed block before an attack will open their guard, and the combat system relies heavily on this.
It doesn't shy away from blood spatter either, and I think it's the first time I've played a card game about dismemberment.
Hey, Afro, you want to play a game? It's called Ninja's Body Part Poker. Let me remind you of the rules. Heads, arms, legs, those are your kings, queens, and aces. You'll pick up the rest as we go. Head to head, 3 heads.
At times, Afro Samurai deviates from the original story, and at times it fails to tell it at all. But later on, it does give some new insights into the story. For example, the speech from Justice is better in the game than in the show. And all throughout, it does stay true to the look and feel.
Unfortunately, it doesn't stand very well on its own. It's all style and no substance. There's some much better action titles out there, and with better gameplay, like Heavenly Sword or Devil May Cry 4. I'm giving it 5.5 out of 10.
Yeah, look, the gameplay is a bit dull. I'm not saying it's a great game, but in terms of the overall Afro Samurai experience, I did have fun, and it did add to it. I'm giving it 7.5 out of 10 rubber chickens.
I ain't scared of heights. It's the ground that kills you.
When most of us think of the Mortal Kombat series, we envisage epic battles and blood-soaked arenas that inevitably end with one of the combatants being eviscerated, all in the name of good fun. But things haven't always been so good in the world of Mortal Kombat. In 1997, Midway came up with the idea for a spin-off series that would flesh out the backstories of their most popular fighters. And the first was Mortal Kombat Mythology's Sub-Zero.
You will fail.
Nice idea, but Midway totally stuffed it up. Not only did Mythologies look bad, but the AI was cheap and the level design was totally mindless. But worst of all was the controls. Seriously, what adventure game requires you to press a button to turn your character around? It's just stupid. The game was supposed to kick off a whole new franchise of single-player Mortal Kombat adventures, but it sucked so bad that Midway canned the Mythology series right there and then. More than 10 years later, and after the global financial crisis performed a fatality on Midway, we're still left wondering, what were they thinking?
Good game.
Today we celebrate a very special birthday. It's been 20 years since kids all over the world stopped begging their mums and dads for a Donkey Kong Game & Watch and started begging them for a Game Boy. That's right, Nintendo's favorite handheld console is nearly 2 decades old, and we're still feeling its 8-bit impact today. Invented by Gunpei Yokoi, the brain behind the Game & Watch and producer of the first Metroid, the Game Boy was a black and green screen unit that ran on 4 AA batteries. In form and function, it took its cues from the massively popular NES, going with a D-pad and 2-button control scheme, big gray games, and needing to blow into the cartridge slot to make the thing work. Like every new Nintendo system, the Game Boy featured fresh installments in classic series. From launch titles Super Mario Land, which sent the plumber to the far-off kingdom of Sarasaland to defeat an evil alien and collect some coins, to The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening, in which our hero forgets Ganon and the Triforce for a while to focus on finding enough musical instruments to wake up a giant fish, and Metroid 2: Return of Samus, which wasn't quite as well loved as the original, but did include battery backup so you could save your game. Then, of course, there was Tetris. Tetris came bundled with the system, so even if your parents wouldn't spring for a copy of Bart Simpson's Escape from Camp Deadly or Alleyway, you'd still have something to play. And it was so addictive it spawned a psychological term, the Tetris effect, which is when you can't stop mentally fitting shapes together even in everyday life, or while you're asleep. Game Boy was also the launchpad for Nintendo's second biggest cash cow, Pokémon. Released late in the original unit's lifetime, Pokémon Red and Blue were interconnected RPG titles that launched an entertainment juggernaut, spanning TV, cinema, and a collectible card game. Oh, and 1,000 or so other Pokémon video games. In 1996, a streamlined version of the console, the Gameboy Pocket, was released. It was thinner, required less batteries, and the screen was clearer. Nintendo also put out a range of Game Boy accessories for the Game Boy, like the Game Boy camera, the Game Boy printer, and the Game Boy. By 1997, Nintendo had sold 60 million of these things. These massive sales figures came despite the fact that, unlike rival handhelds such as the Atari's Lynx and Sega's Game Gear, Game Boy stayed proudly monochromatic. Well, at least until 1998, when technological advances allowed for an enhanced palette without chewing through batteries. The Game Boy Color was short-lived, replaced in 2000 by the Game Boy Advance. Then came the backlit Game Boy Advance SP, followed by the last of the line, the Game Boy Micro. The Game Boy name was retired with the company's next handheld, the Nintendo DS. But that doesn't mean we can't rescue a kidnapped princess or two in its honor.
New FIFA.
Yeah, they just released a new game mode called Ultimate Team. You play matches and you get coins, and you use those to buy packs of players. The idea is you build your dream team and play FIFA matches with them.
Well, at least it's something new. You got so bored you downloaded the Spanish commentary.
El larguero impide el gol. Gol, 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 gol.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they want you to get this invested in FIFA 09. I mean, FIFA 10's just like 6 months away. You want to go?
Yeah, place the controller in my hand. Thank you.
Interesting that the manager here has selected a couple of players whose contracts are almost up.
Hey, what happened there?
You lost a player, his contract was up.
What? How do I keep him?
Well, you got to use contract cards, which you find in those packs.
If anyone deserves a rest, it's this man. The manager does still have substitutes.
So why is this guy running so slow? What's with his stamina?
Oh, well, his fitness is low. He's next to useless.
Well, how do I fix that?
Well, you got to use fitness cards, which come in those packs.
And what's it say here? Low morale? What's all that about?
Yeah, that affects your performance as well. And to get your morale up, you need to use Team Talk cards, which
you get by buying the packs. Yeah, I'm going to take a wild stab in the dark here and say that you pay real-life money for these packs.
How'd you know?
It's got the old microtransaction stench on it.
If you really want to compete at the highest level, get to the top of the leaderboards and fill out the trophy room, you'll need to buy more packs and manage your team well.
Well, you do get in-game coins by playing matches, and you can use these to buy the packs as well. But you need to play about 10 matches to buy a gold pack, and supposedly by playing well, you should be able to keep your cards, but I've found that you kind of just get short of breaking even.
It seems to be more about upkeep than actual fun. And, you know, in the good old days, you'd pay real money for a card, you get a real card, you get to keep it, you can sell it or trade it. Here it seems like you're paying real money for a virtual number, and then you have to keep paying just to keep that.
Yeah, no arguments here, man, and that's just the half of it. There's also injuries, bans, and staff contracts to worry about, and you can't really go for any player because you have to make sure the chemistry is right with your team.
I like the concept of team chemistry, Jung, and how you can play gameplay cards mid-match to affect the game, such as making the ref more lenient or giving your players a pace boost. And when you let people pay real money to do better, by definition, it's not a level playing field.
Yeah, and you can't just jump online with a bronze quality team. I mean, everyone online already has a 5-star gold quality team. If you don't pay to catch up to that quickly, it's like commanding your local under-6s.
And during that baptism of fire, if you play badly or you're just unlucky, you could be paying as much as $1 a match just on upkeep right from the start.
I was able to have a bit of luck with the auction house, which compared to a PC search engine is terrible, but that can actually work in your favor. I was able to find Liverpool manager Rafael Benitez with 33 seconds left to go for the minimum bid, so I reckon that's probably the way to go.
You're not really getting anything new though, are you?
Just the card interface, the commentators, and those gameplay cards.
Well, it seems the most fun here might be from not going up against Manchester United or Barcelona every single time you go online, which is the current situation in standard FIFA. And the upkeep nature of the game might appeal to the football manager crowd. I'm giving it 6 out of 10.
I've played a fair bit of it so far, and like I said, if you're playing well, you're still lucky just to break even. It feels like they've built it around the payment model rather than fun gameplay. I'm giving it 2 out of 10 rubber chickens.
Good game.
Dear modern media, what did the common video gamer ever do to you? When you're not busy misappropriating our game franchises, you're portraying us as sweaty social invalids that live in our parents' basements. Well, joke's on you. My parents don't have a basement. The bone I've got to pick with you today is that you seem to think that we all play video games like this. I'll have you know that this is a skill that we hone through hours and hours of practice. And if you think that we progress through these games by flailing our arms around like an octopus having an aneurysm, then you've got to get your doctor to stop prescribing you stupid pills.
Yay! Woo!
Good game.
Longtime viewers will remember our series last year on how to land a dream job in the game development industry.
Time to resume it now with a look at the role of the game designer.
Every gamer has an idea for a great game, but it takes a special kind of gamer to bring those ideas from sketchpad to control pad. It's a skill called game design, and if you think you have what it takes, you could make a career out of it. Is game design a skill you can learn?
Well, I got my start in the industry, when there was no industry when I started. My friends and I actually got together and we started making our own company to actually get a job because there was no place in Australia at the time. So it was a matter of actually just sitting down and saying, look, we want to make a game, and then working out what the hell we had to do to make the game.
I've always been interested in working in games ever since I was in primary school. And eventually I met a friend who was a games tester. As soon as I saw that she was doing that for a job, I just thought, if she can do it, so can I.
I've made games compulsively all the way through my life. Started out with card games and board games, and then when computers came around, computer games. But I was in Canberra and I was unemployed, and I rang up Micro 4D Studios pretty much on a whim as I was cold canvassing for employers, and got through to the CEO of the company and got a job from that.
I was running computer tournaments for a game called Unreal Tournament back in 2001. And during the time, I was making a lot of custom content for my own tournament. And after a while, we had a couple of reps come in from a few various companies that were looking to scout out new talent. Then they came up and said, hey, we really like what you do. We're doing a game that's quite similar and using similar style technology. Would you like to come on down and have a look? And so I signed up, and there I was.
What does a game designer do?
Well, the design part of the job is sort of being the torchbearer for the project. It's the person who knows the big picture of what's going on, what the game's about, how the game's going to play, how the interaction's going to work with the player. That's the designer's job, is to sort of let the team know what's going on with that stuff.
The level design focuses more on actual creation of missions, which is to say, building out the world environment itself, where you're going to encounter enemies, where you're going to encounter the pickups, and pacing it so that it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's challenging for the player. Whereas a game designer, his responsibility is to work on all the core back-end mechanics, how much damage an enemy does or how much damage a gun does, that kind of thing.
Is game design a skill you can learn?
Absolutely. People learn it just by playing games. And that's the first piece of advice I give to most of the students here is play games, play lots of games. And you'll start to get the ideas of the mechanics and the way these things are built filtering through to you. If it can be learnt, of course it can be taught. And somewhere like here, what we're trying to do is formalise the process of learning it.
I definitely think formal training in game design is an asset these days. A really good example of that is the game Portal. Portal came about by the group of students that were studying at DigiPen, and they presented their work at the end of their course, and it got picked up by Valve, and everyone got to play Portal as a result of that. So definitely, I think these courses are really helping people make a good break into the career.
The academic qualifications can definitely help, but they can't stand on their own. Having said that, it's a good sign that the academic things are coming on board now, because the flip side is it gives you a set of analytic skills you otherwise wouldn't have. So I would say in the future the people who are going to be best are people who've gone through the academic process, but also have done the hard work in their own time to put together a show reel, maybe doing mods for games and things like that.
How important is having a good portfolio for a game designer?
A good portfolio is centerpiece to a good designer. You must have a good collection of work showing that you can not only express the ideas and you understand how games go together, but you can also use the tools.
One of my big preferences is to get an example of level design. There's a lot of games out there with level editors like Unreal Ed or Sandbox for Far Cry. And an example of a level that you've created for a single-player campaign, multiplayer campaign or something like that, to me that's really important stuff.
The Ninjas vs. Robots vs. Pirates vs. Zombies genre has been pretty limited so far to just a dreadful dodgeball game.
Badge, one game doth not a genre make.
Well, it's been redefined now, Jung, with the Dishwasher Dead Samurai, which is a 2D side-scroller chock full of ninjas, robots, zombies, and a whole lot of rumble.
The game was written using XNA Game Studio, a community-based development tool for PC and 360. It was made by one man over 5 years, James Silva, who got a contract after winning a game development contest in 2007.
Now it's a fully fledged XBLA game, and it's pretty fun. There's some fancy visual effects in the zooms, blurs, explosions, and especially when you do one of the game's gruesome finishing moves.
Kills can be very satisfying, and even on the easy difficulty, the game can be crazy hard at times, dodging and teleporting around the room, killing an enemy where there's an opportunity.
Things can get pretty hectic, but I really enjoyed zipping around all over the screen, Jung, even though sometimes you'll accidentally zip out of the zone, only to have to come back in, kill them all again with lower health. But how awesome is the chainsaw?
It's very awesome, but you don't use it that often because it is slow. Later on you get the Arsenal, which is a combo between a minigun and a shotgun. But then the game gets very, very button mashy, and it's a shame because if they just made it really powerful, it would have been more fun.
Yeah, the Arsenal spam is where I wanted to put the game down. Of course, you can upgrade all your stats and gear, but you rarely have enough cash to do this because you'll spend all of it on health packs just trying to get through a hard bit or a boss fight.
Two amulets hidden in the game allow for offline co-op, but not for the whole game.
Yeah, it's weird not having this from the start. I mean, if you miss that amulet, you're going to miss out on an awesome two-player experience as the Dishwasher's shadow.
Yeah, some sort of hint to let you know you passed it would have been nice. I did like rocking out now and then, and it's cool that you can hook up a Guitar Hero controller to do it. There's also an amulet that allows a second player to be a guitar, but it's not very much fun.
Yeah, even James Silva says on his blog that it's not a selling point and there's only so much you can do with a guitar controller in an action game. Nice idea, though.
Some more interesting combos would have been nice and stopped that button mashy gameplay creeping in. But you can get some nice chains going here and there. Local co-op is great. The only thing this game needs is online co-op.
Yeah, I mean, there are online endurance modes, but why not do the co-op campaign? It's where the game is at its best. I'm not a fan of endurance modes anyway, Jung. They're for top score nuts and achievement gatherers.
I'm an achievement gatherer, Badge. I gather all the time. I gathered this morning.
Unlocking them accidentally doesn't count, Jung. Even though I enjoyed Dishwasher, it's just too hard, and that starts to shave away at the fun a little bit. Having said that, though, it's a welcome addition to a growing genre. I'm giving it 7 out of 10.
I don't see how you can include this in your pirates versus ninjas versus zombies versus robots genre. If there is no pirates, your argument is flawed. Anyway, it was the visuals and the great use of rumble that kept me interested. I'm giving it 7.5 rubber chickens.
So, did you guess the game for this week?
I did, Badge, and it was Navy SEALs for the old black and white Game Boy. It came out in 1991, and it was based on the movie of the same name, which starred Charlie Sheen. And while the movie was a cliched mess, the game actually wasn't all that bad, with some fairly decent side-scrolling shooting action.
Navy SEALs wasn't all good though, since the game design was a bit samey and also super hard, and your main character could only take one hit before keeling over. I thought these military types were supposed to be tough guys, Joe.
Weak. But speaking of tough guys, next week we get reacquainted with one of gaming's toughest, Richard B. Riddick, in our review of his latest game, The Chronicles of Riddick: Assault on Dark Athena.
If I hurt you, you had it coming.
And with the benefit of hindsight, we look at some games that we might have been too hard on or too lenient on first time around. Ray returns with that story on the internet filter trial currently underway.
Don't forget to send in your random access memory. In 60 words or less, your favorite gaming moment. The best of the best will get into the Good Game Gamer's Guide to Good Gaming.
Details on how to contribute are on the site, and whilst you're there, click through to the forums and introduce yourself to the Good Game community.
Till next time, gamers, Junglist out.
Mojo out.